Banreet. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Hi, Tanya. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Everybody was waiting for you eagerly. So we were just having some conversation before you joined in. Yes. Please accept a warm welcome from our students. They were really eager to meet you since morning, and yeah, you can see the chat box, everything. Yes.
Thank you, everyone. Great to be part. Thank you, first of all, for inviting me to talk to everyone, and also thank you, everyone, for taking your time on a Saturday evening to be here and listen to me just talk in general. Also, yeah.
No, Banreet, I think it's our honor that you gave us your 1 hour and graced us with your presence. So before we move ahead with Banreet, and I'll tell you the motive I have repeated last time also. Today we are gonna talk mostly about the relationship between tech and product. Right? She has been in both the domains, so we'll take insights of each domain and we'll talk further. Right? So hi Banreet, welcome to our CodeTalk episode. So this time, people really wanted to know from where you come. What are you doing currently? What's your background looks like? If you would please share something about that.
Sure. So let me start off with my college and my background, my academic background basically. So I am a computer engineering grad from Thapar University, Patiala. I was just thinking about it today that it was exactly 10 years ago in August that I had started my engineering, and it was around this time that we got to know about our admissions and about where we will be going ahead with our engineering journey. So then for once I was into engineering, like the 4 year basic course that everyone does. But before getting into engineering, I believe very few of us know what we are getting into. So engineering is very hands-on, it's very practical, and I was not kind of used to it initially. Took me a year to actually understand, okay, so how I need to go about and how I need to excel in what I'm doing, how to understand coding. I actually used to take, I remember for one semester, I actually took extra coaching for coding, and that's how I got to know the basics, and then it was smooth sailing from then. And so that was my engineering. Post my engineering, I joined Deloitte US India. So I did sit for both coding as well as consulting jobs in the placements that were offered by Thapar. I did get a offer from BlackRock. It is a wealth management firm, and I did my internship also there for 6 months. Did full stack development, front end, back end, and everything. But I had an offer from Deloitte as well. So, after doing that coding for 6 months, I was like, okay, let me explore something else as well in another city. So I landed in Bangalore with Deloitte. And I was with Deloitte for approximately 2.5 years. Then I decided to do more academic stuff, and then I landed at ISB, Indian School of Business, for my MBA. That was another experience altogether, because when I started my MBA, it was 2020, the pandemic year, and my MBA has been, I passed out in 2021. So that 1 year I was doing my MBA, though we were able to go to our college and I was on campus for 10 months, but still it was another experience altogether because of the COVID scenario then. Post my MBA, I joined Microsoft. So there was a shift from consulting to tech and to product management. I had not necessarily done product management before, so I am even after 2 years in product management, I consider myself a newbie, and right now that's where I am. I am working with Microsoft as a product manager. It's been 2 years, it will be 2 years in this August, and it has been a ride. So the last 10 years have completely gone here and there right now. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for, telling your whole journey, rawly in front of all of us. So basically, I think I'm getting 2, 3 DMs. What was your exact role at Deloitte, and what we are clear that you are product manager at Microsoft. So what was your exact role at Deloitte? If you could just shed some light on that.
So I joined Deloitte right after my engineering, right? So once you for Thapar, Deloitte came for a role called Business Technology Analyst. So that is the role that I was offered. That is the role usually some colleges they offered Associate Analyst and some colleges they offered Business Technology Analyst. So I was offered BTA role. Also, Deloitte has two subsidiaries. There is Deloitte India and then there is Deloitte US India. So both of them did come to our college. I applied for the US India role because the clients that they cater to are US clients mainly, whereas the India subsidiary has Indian clients. So I opted for US India, and I was working with a client from the US in the telecom industry. And once you are in a consulting firm, I will just give you an idea of exactly what all can you expect as a fresher in a consulting firm, not just in Deloitte. So in all these consulting firms, you have different projects available. These projects are from different clients. These clients are other companies who need some sort of consultation advice or some sort of process refinement or some sort of testing, process automation and something of those sorts. So they give those assignments to consulting firms which have these teams of senior consultants, managers, consultants, analysts available who go ahead and deliver those projects. So I was part of some 2 or 3 such projects at Deloitte. Now, my projects revolved around web transformation for the telecom clients. When I say web transformation, they were primarily broadband customers. Like if you consider the Airtel in India, let's say the Airtel was a broadband provider and they wanted to go into the billing and the billing industry, the mobile industry, the telecom part of that. So they were from internet service providers. They also wanted to come into the mobile industry as well. So that transformation is what we were helping them by doing analysis is how big players are already there and all those market analysis and those kind of things. Another important thing that I was doing at Deloitte was creating proposals for the capabilities that Deloitte already had and pitching them to clients for getting new projects as well. So that was one of the interesting things that I was doing at Deloitte, and that was because that was not part of my day-to-day job actually. That was something that I was doing for my own development, working with my manager in my extra time to actually make an impact which was more than my day-to-day job and which actually also got me noticed at multiple places. So and it gave me a point of view around how these big consulting firms actually get those projects. So that was another important thing. So as you can see, right, it was not what I was supposed to do, but because of my interest and because I saw an opportunity, I took it on. So these two were kind of the main, I would say, my things that I did at Deloitte. But apart from that, your day-to-day was talking with the clients, understanding what they're looking for, doing business analysis for them. So I would actually call myself a business analyst rather than a business technology analyst at that point of time.
Yes. Okay. I hope everybody is clear what consulting looked like at Deloitte and what she did. If you might have noticed, she said a very good thing that she hopped onto an opportunity which was beyond her BAUs, right? That got her noticed, and probably that is the something that she might have even written in her application to ISB, right? Which set her apart from other 1,000 applicants to the B school, right? So that brings me to the another question, Banreet. You took up some leadership roles. You took up some amazing internships in L'Oreal and other companies, right? You were at some good positions in your college life, right? And you had an overall a very interesting, kind of journey during Deloitte and Thapar. Thapar is again a very known institute in India for engineering, right? One of the top institutes. So again, even after so much, you felt the need to go to ISB. You felt that, okay, now it's my time to upskill myself, where everything was going very nicely, but still, at some point you felt that, okay, let me just upskill, let me just experiment more with my life. So same is what Masai is doing. They are all coming from very degrees, maybe BE, BSc, BTech, right? But they still felt that they need to upskill themselves in coding or DSA to secure an more than above job, right? If there are 100 applicants, to set them apart, they have to take some specialized course to crack that job, right? So my question would be on the same lines. What was your thought process at that time, right? Do you wanted to upskill yourself, or were you thinking to switch domains? What was it when you took this decision?
I think that's a very relevant question. And this was also a question that was asked in an application as to why ISB, why now, and why, because all the people who apply, usually have some sort of experience for these B schools. They do not accept freshers. Now, I'll give you 2 to 3 reasons for this, okay? And first one being Deloitte, even though it's a known name, is a part of Big Four. And I believe this might sound a bit cliched, but it's like if you aim for the moon, then you land among the stars. So even if you are at Deloitte, right, I had this aspiration that there can be something higher than this. So you have your MBBs of the world, which is McKinsey, Bain, and BCGs of the world, which are considered an even tier above the Big Four consulting firms. So that's kind of like a motivation that there is something that's even higher above available and which can be reached if I have some more sort of, because I had 2 years of work, 2.5 years of work when I applied to ISB. But I did think that to have that backing of that business and that strategy, that marketing skills that you get after doing an MBA, that will really propel and accelerate that journey to those MBBs of the world. Now, that was a motivation. Now, how did I know that ISB is the right path, right? Or MBA is the right path? So it's about surrounding yourself with that kind of an environment or that kind of people who you see succeeding. So while I was at Deloitte, I saw there were people who had done engineering who were, let's say, near or more senior to me, and they were very rigorously applying to these MBA colleges, not just in India but abroad as well. And they had to go through this rigorous application process, for which I used to help them. I used to help them review their essays or write their answers and just go through the process with them, because of, and then it really got me intrigued that if people around me can do it, I can also do it. And it does not really need to be a very challenging, it just needs my focus, and I've already seen them do the process. So that conducive environment was there for me to actually make that move, because I had seen people at Deloitte do that also, and because I also talked to my management or to my manager and as well as senior managers at these companies, asking them, do you think it is a right step to take at this point in someone's career? Because when I actually applied for ISB, I was up for promotion that year to become a consultant. And that is one of those big, I would say, dangling sweets that you see that I might receive it, but then getting into ISB, because your time is divided, right? You only have, everybody has 24 hours in a day. And if you spend 8 to 9 hours working and 8 to 9 hours living, very few little time left to actually do something different. Or you can either excel in what you're currently doing or what you aspire to do. You cannot do both. I think it's superhuman power is needed to do both. So these 2 factors kind of led me to apply to ISB as well as to get through. The motivation and as well as the environment around me. These were I would say, the 2 main factors. I would also, just one more thing.
Please, yes.
Third, I would say is that in using having kind of sort of, I would say, backing in your career, or that brand names behind you is fine, but that can only take to a certain level. After that, your own upskill, as you said, right, upskilling your own self, your own brain, that becomes really important to go from point A to point B. The labels can only take you so far. So the labels did bring me to Deloitte, but I knew that to move from Deloitte, I also needed that some sort of upskilling, which kind of led to ISB.
Nice. Yes, I think that motivates our students a lot. at every step in life, after certain years, you feel like upskilling yourself, become, catch that pace at which market is running at today's date. So thanks, Banreet, for letting us know that. So in continuation with the skill topic that we are talking, right, I'm sure it took a lot of hard work, right from taking an admission to Thapar, then going to Deloitte, working. I myself from Big Four, KPMG and PwC. I know what work environment looks like there. I used to work for 12 to 14 hours on weekdays and another 10 on weekends, right? So there's insane pressure. There's insane, there's no work-life balance as such. Like it's again a superhuman power to maintain a work-life balance there. So apart from these, there are some soft skills, like consistency, positive mindset, which kept me floating, all those through 3.5 years of my life. I would request you if you could share some of your soft skills or some of your mindset, that kept you floating, that kept you, even to work rigorously on your application, in your job, taking extra responsibility with your manager. How did you handle all this at one time? And what kept you floating? Basically, how did you manage your time? Yeah.
Right. I think that's an excellent question, because time management is a skill that is cultivated. It is not something that anyone is born with. And not just time management, I believe a lot of the opportunities that I have been able to get in my life have been because of the good interpersonal relationships and having that empathy and that EQ around myself and with the people that I'm working with. So you see, most of the times we will need to have that line between professional and personal, which is absolutely necessary. But that does not mean that professional cannot have that empathy and EQ with the kind of people you are working with. You have to understand that not everyone will have an opportunity available for you, but the ones that you have to be willing, you have to show them that you are capable of working more, or that you have more capability and you want to explore something different. And even EQ, like I know that IQ is something that you're born with, but even IQ and EQ can also again both be cultivated. Understanding the psyche of the other person we are working with. Now these might all sound like out of the world, or like what is this? This does not make sense. But to succeed in corporate world, I believe it's very important to be a good EQ person, and EQ is emotional quotient. Now, when I say EQ, it's very important to understand that the other person is also a human being, even if they're a manager or even if they're a teammate. They also have similar life challenges as you, and to take everything with a positive intent. There will be times that you are given more work. You will think that, oh, why is my deadline so short? Why their deadline is longer? But then you also have to understand that it's a positive intent maybe on their part to make you shine later on. It does not mean they want all the work in the world. That is not also what it means. Again, this is where that line comes between professional and personal, and that your work-life balance should be maintained, especially for people who work in consulting. And I know that there is no such line. They have professional and that's just professional. There is no personal in consulting for some people, because that's the kind of environment that the Indian consulting world has. It's not something that you can change. But then it's also becomes up to you the kind of projects that you choose. Like, I know that you think, oh, jo bhi mil raha hai, let's, like, whatever is being given to us, let's take it. But even then, you can on your end do due diligence to talk to the teammates, to understand what kind of an environment there is. Will this be something that you can give enough time to? Is this something that interests you? As freshers, I agree, we really think that, oh, whatever I'm getting is good and I should do it. It's fine for, like, let's say some small amount of time, but if you want to really make it a career or succeed, you have to make your decisions going forward with due diligence around the kind of roles that you're taking, the teams that you're taking, the interest that you have, the time that you have. And if that is something that you see yourself, after 10 years that, this is something that I want to do. Because consulting, after 2.5 years, I realized this is not something I want to do. So it is more about self-reflection, more about understanding the psychology part of things, understanding what are your needs. A lot of self-reflection and is needed in these cases. It's not just going with the flow. Dead fish go with the flow. You have to understand what you need and work for that.
Yes, I think one good point what she stated is if you really introspect yourself and find one thing that helps you to wake up in the morning, I think you have won. Even if you have to slog for next 14 hours for it, you'll be happy by the end of the day, right? So I think it's an excellent tip. It's something that you all can do. Probably just sit 10 minutes with yourself and give a thought what you like. All 250 people out here, just sit, write one thing that really makes you happy. And start doing that. Start building your story towards that. Surely one day that will be a full grown business or a job for you, right? Absolutely. So Banreet, let's move forward in your journey. Now you are a product person, right? So first question that comes personally to my mind is you chose product, you went from tech to product. Usually it's ulta. People go from product to tech when they start understanding more details dealing with tech on daily basis, but you went to product. So was it because in the market that all product fashion is being on, or is that domain really attracted you, or you want to talk to 100 people in a day and get things done? That's what you like. So what was it like? Can you please let us know how product, why did you land at that?
I think you said it. Like right now, I'm talking to over 250 people. So talking to people is not a problem for me. First, being a product manager, you need to really collaborate with multiple teams. Starting from the development team to the testing team to the marketing, sales, the business leadership, design team. Anybody there available in the company, you need to talk to them to get your feature or your product through the door. So talking to people was definitely, I think this is something that I reflected on as, tying it back to my previous answer, and I realized that talking to people is a strong point. So I just went for something that I was strong for. And also because product, even though a lot of product roles do not require anyone to have a tech background. Most of your, fans and big tech companies of the world, they don't require you to have a tech background to become a product manager. But given that these are big tech companies, if you have a tech background, it is something that will make your life a bit easier to understand what is going behind the screen that you see for your product. So a lot of times your dev teams and your testing teams, they face challenges. And I right now am working on a product for Microsoft Intune. So it's a business B2B product. It's not something that is sold directly to the customer. So it's a very enterprise heavy, very tech heavy product. So once I actually joined Microsoft and I started working on the product, I realized that I had to go back to my engineering books to understand networking, to understand architecture, infrastructure, how network works and all those computer system architectures and all those things. So it was not like that I could have maybe made without it as well, just focusing on the design and the user experience part of it. But if as a PM I wanted to really excel, having that domain knowledge kind of helped me to move through. So even when I joined as a PM, and then I was able to get a promotion to PM2 in this 2 years that I joined, and that is because of this extra effort into going back and realizing, okay, so this product needs this kind of tech knowledge as well. And sometimes as a PM, it does not mean that a PM just works as a PM. PM works as a developer also, they work as a designer also, they work as a tester also, they work as a marketing person also, or sales person also. So having that all kind of knowledge for the PM is a great plus to become a good PM. Now, that does not mean that the people who are working, other PMs on my team, have this kind of tech background. They don't. They were just previously working on this product as support engineers who would 10 years of experience with the product, and they moved on to the role of product management. But to come to that level of understanding, I had to go back to my tech part. Now, this is like the right now scenario. Going back to how I chose product, once I landed at ISB, I was in my application, I did write that, I'll join MBB, I'm coming from consulting, I go to consulting. But then I realized, I reflected back. I saw that what my last 2.5 years at Deloitte have been like. I already had a taste of consulting. The competition to get into MBB kind of also threw me off. It was very cutthroat. And it does not mean that the competition for PM role is not cutthroat, but then that is a strength that I had about understanding the user's journey, about having that EQ that is needed for putting yourself in the customer's shoes and designing the journey for their from their perspective, talking to people to get things done. So I just played on my strengths and decided that I want to go for product management. It was not like I had my eyes set on the big tech. I just wanted to become a product manager. I actually wanted to become a gaming product manager because that was very, very cool. Like your Zyngas, and because you are like, if you're developing games, how much fun can that be? So I actually applied to those gaming companies, did not get through. So somehow I managed to make it through to Microsoft, but did not get through those amazing companies. I applied to EA Sports as well, got through first round, did a case study, they did not like it. So even this journey for me to become a PM, I reflected on what my strengths were, developed those strengths, and tried to land myself in a place which was good for both myself from the perspective of my growth, as well as from the financial perspective also. Because if you look at general management roles, they pay well, but your PM and your consulting roles, as well as your financial IB, your venture capital roles, they also pay extremely well. So being practical as well as keeping in mind my goals, that's how I chose product management.
Amazing. I think the one took away personally for me is to just sit, all the experimentation that you have done till date, what you are really good at, pick that up, start building and start applying. There are failures surely coming your way. There's no escape to it, but you will land somewhere and really great. So perfect. I think that's the one very good message students can take away as well. That brings to me a very question next question, about the experimentation word that I used, right? You have done so much, hence you were able to come at a conclusion that okay, this is not for me, this is for me, and this is maybe okay. If I land here, I can at least shift to my good part, right? So that's what introspection looks like, that's what self-reflection looks like, right? But students don't have here, there are some freshers, right? They might not have chance to experiment that long, or they might not be aiming to do an MBA probably to get a clarity that okay, I want this, I don't want this, right? So could you give some tips to them? How can they self-reflect and how can they experiment on themselves, probably through open source projects or lead code? Maybe there are thousands of things out there in market, right? So could you just give some 2-3 things? Since you come from a tech background, I'm sure you might be having some idea for it.
Right. For this, I'll go back to my engineering days and I'll talk about how I was trying to find what I was good at. So first of all, it comes down to your curriculum. At least at Thapar, I realized by third year that I was very interested in database. And it was something that I was good at as well. Now that is very obvious from the marks that you get, right? It's not something you even have to think about. There will be some subjects that will be your interest and you will study them without thinking that there's an exam, and you just like them. So I was kind of interested in databases. I went ahead and did projects like the ones that you get for your summer internship or your subject projects for which you are graded. I did them out of interest and with my students or with my friends who were smart enough, maybe more smarter than me, or at least as smart as me, so that it was always a learning experience to do those projects. Even like my internship with L'Oreal was where we actually converted the Excel that was used by the L'Oreal manufacturing plant into, and so that they can directly put it into the MySQL database back in 2015. So it was a very basic thing, right? Like they were doing things on Excel. We gave them a UI and we gave them data to be put in a database so that more things can be done for them. So now it shows what you're interested in. You did some effort to do something meaningful with that, and that becomes your base to talk about in interviews, to even see if you're good at what you think you are good at. So that is one way to go about it. And I believe this was a talking point in my BlackRock interview, in my Deloitte interview, and when I was interning with BlackRock, they actually put me into a database administrative DBAT. As an intern, because I had previously talked about databases and I was working with that team and I was working on query optimization and Oracle and all those things at BlackRock. So you see the progression for it, like there is something that is easily available to you, that is your marks in your subjects. You see which you're good at. You do now. You see the part here that is the toughest is doing something on your own and doing something meaningful on your own and creating your own project, and that is something that nobody else will do. This is something that you will have to do. You have to put in that work to get something meaningful, which you can then talk about in future. I'm still to this day talking about this, right? So that is one thing. Second thing, when I was preparing for my coding interviews at Harvard, again, all of these coding platforms, competitive coding platforms was where I was practicing. Daily, I used to practice for half an hour or 1 hour to brush up my coding skills, because the first round of it was always a coding round, right? So that was another thing I was doing. Even though BlackRock did have even in the written face-to-face round, it was a coding round again. So they did ask me questions, which were again the ones that were there on competitive platforms mostly. I'm a bit, I would say, away from that scenario because the PM interviews are drastically different. But that is how I used to prepare these two things, and these were my talking points as well. Like sometimes in an interview, an interviewer is more interested in to know what have you actually done rather than getting that coding answer. Talking about your projects and something that you have done different. Another thing as a PM, I think, which also is applicable to your coding thing, is having that portfolio. Like I did talk about one project, but as a PM or as a coder, you can have multiple projects for which you can create a portfolio, a beautiful website where you can talk about those, or just give that as your resume rather than creating a pager. So something different is what I think you can do.
I think you got 3 excellent bullet points. You again, the gist that comes out again and again, I think when I'm talking to her, is try to find something that sets you apart. Try to find something that you can own and make it really stand out from the public, right? Again, practicing is another best factor. Keep practicing. Let it be 20 minutes, 30 minutes in a day, that's enough, but practice should not go away, right? That's how you'll be very confident in the day of when you're sitting in front of the interviewer, right? Perfect, right? So now we have talked a lot about product and what happens. So since I'm sure you might be dealing with the tech team where there are hardcore coders and DSA people, and you talk to them on day-to-day basis, right? So if since they are freshers, right, if we could explain them in a very layman language how the relationship looks between a product manager and a techie, right? When they sit in front of each other, what conversations happen, what goes on that paper to okay, stamped, okay, now it's done, now you have to develop this, right? What kind of conversations, if you could just tell some of them?
This is actually very interesting because most of the time it is me asking them, oh, what does this mean when you say that the API is lagging or what? So most of the time it used to be this in the beginning. But then when I understood what they were talking about, so then the relationship changed. But let me get to the beginning. So for a product, it is very important first to set the requirements or what needs to be actually built. Building the right thing versus building it the right way, I think is how I define the difference between the tech and the product. The product team tries to find that best possible requirement of the feature to be available in the product, and the tech team tries to find the best possible way to build it into the product in terms of technicality, in terms of its scalability, in terms of its usability. But the value that feature will bring, the decision on that is on the product. Now, once those requirements are set, there is something called a product requirement document, PRD, that we as PMs have to make. That is a very detailed document talking use case wise about what needs to be built. That is not a technical document, that is more of a product document which talks about, okay, the user needs to have this ability, understanding customer centricity, structured thinking. And I think these are the skills that are needed for any PM, not just a PM at Microsoft, but to think from a customer's point of view, to understand the user journey from beginning to the end of their interaction with the product is very important. So this was the interview process that Microsoft followed.
I hope people are very much clear, because usually when such type of conversations happen, they really seek what happens inside the interview and what kind of questions are being asked, right? So since they are techies, they'll become first techies now once they graduate from Masai. Can you help us also with your interview process? If you remember at Deloitte when you were speaking a lot more tech and less product, right? So could you just even explain a little more about that?
So for my internships, it was all first started off with the online coding round for each and every company. Clearing that round, you have those questions where you have test cases, you need to clear a number of test cases and all those things. So that is the first round. This screening round that happens, I believe, for almost every company now to test your basic coding skills. For that, there were face-to-face interviews. For BlackRock, the first interview was around, actually because those were for internships, so the number of rounds is usually reduced. It's just 1 or 2 rounds of interviews for internships. It's not. So I had 2 rounds. First was a technical round, second was a behavioral round. Behavioral are usually done to assess if you are a team player, if you are in a stress environment, if you are in general have some sort of, problem with working with people or under pressure, so those kind of things. Technical round, again, it was on coding questions, but if you're not since I was not really, I did not want to spend those interviews regarding answering those questions. So when they asked for tell us something about yourself, that is the first question that is asked in any interview. So I used to talk about something about myself, and then I used to just take the conversation into the direction of the topics that I liked or the projects that I had done in my resume, so that we could have a conversation around those and they would actually know what my skills are, rather than testing it on the spot on a question that I may or may not know. So that was one thing that I used to do, and that was the process for BlackRock. For Deloitte, there was since I was a business technology analyst and it was consulting, it was not technical heavy. We talked more about my projects, very less about the coding questions for Deloitte, and again 2 rounds. First round was based on my projects that I had done, because I was a fresher, did not have prior work ex, so no talk about those, but about the things that you have done as a student at college, any extracurriculars that I had done or any projects that I had done, and then followed by a behavioral round. So these were 2 interview experiences.
I think people got a lot of insights. How many rounds happen? What is asked at various companies at various roles, right? Absolutely. So coming to my next question, which is again the ask of the students, ask of me as well, with the AI coming into the picture, right? And it's not a fad, it's here to stay for future, right? And a lot of people are automating stuff through it. A lot of jobs are being replaced. Let's face this is unfortunate, but this is the truth of today. So how did it affect you at Microsoft? If it affected you personally, someone got laid off, or things that are being replaced at Microsoft through AI. So if you could tell a little more about that.
Right. I believe talking to someone from Microsoft about AI is a really good thing that you're doing, because Microsoft actually bought OpenAI, right? And they are going full-fledged as it's out there in the public around AI development and including AI in most of its products. You will see a lot of co-pilots in Microsoft 365, Microsoft Security, and all those things. So the strategy, which is I think visible as day, is that we are investing our 100% in AI. Now, of course, you must, like, if anybody uses LinkedIn or if it reads the newspaper, you must have seen that the last year and even this year there have been a lot of layoffs. With Microsoft's investment, we are like, I think this is also public news that a lot of companies faced issues with increments not being given to employees, where they were expected to work as much but not being given the increments that they were expecting. So and this is not, I think, unique to Microsoft. This is happening to all the tech companies out there in the world, also because there is this macroeconomic recession looming over which was looming there last year as well. So this has impacted a lot of us. There were colleagues who were working from Redmond who got laid off, who we used to have conversations with, and then 1 week they're there, and the next week they are not. And this kind of also leads to a lot of apprehensions and insecurity on part of anybody, because these layoffs are not based on performance. These layoffs in any company are based purely on financials. How much is someone earning? If removing them will kind of benefit the company's bottom line and all those things. So I believe it's very important to not take these layoffs, or even if somebody is impacted personally, because it is not based on performance. If it was based on performance, you might think how you can improve. But this is all about the general economy, the general capitalist culture of the world, that somebody has to, bear the brunt of this upcoming technology. When computers came in, a lot of people were scared of computers and a lot of jobs were lost. Now it's the other layer on top of it where jobs will be lost. Now it comes down to the fact, how can we upskill? Again, it comes to upskilling ourselves on using that AI to our benefit rather than being scared of it. So understanding about it, how to make it work for you, how to be not scared of it, those kind of things I think become important for us to keep on moving forward without being scared or without having that insecurity of AI taking my job.
I think, yes, you need to be little smart what can be replaced by AI and what cannot. Be top of it, what's coming in the market, and, learn it on day-to-day basis, because it's really fast, it's rapid fast, and, we have to keep pace with it. Otherwise, we will be behind. Absolutely. Yes. So, Banreet, there's one more question. Of course, there are challenges that we all face. Nobody's life is rosy and 100% perfect, right? So, if you could share one challenge, probably maybe switching domains, or maybe something you faced in your professional life, right? And how did you overcome that? Honestly, because students here are literally facing some challenges and they need some kind of motivation, how to overcome those challenges. So if you could just share one of yours.
I think I'll give the example of when I was applying to ISB. So for applying to ISB, you have to give an exam for GMAT or GRE, because that is the score that is considered. And I was preparing for it while working at Deloitte, and I decided to give my exam just after 3 months of preparation. I was being overconfident that I will be able to make it through. And I went ahead to the center, I gave my exam, and the problem with this exam is they give you the result right then and there on the screen. So I saw my result, I came back and I was devastated because that was not the score I was expecting. I actually overestimated my ability to do it, and it was completely out of my mind that I can actually flunk, and I might actually, it's an expensive exam as well. It is not an exam where you just pay a few bucks and you're able to. It's an expensive exam. It requires a lot of prep, but I was overconfident in my ability. So, and that day itself, I decided that, I am overconfident, but let's me just be confident and give it another shot. So then I booked on that day itself. I again booked a date for a later day, but this time I gave myself ample amount of time so that I could rework on my strategies, see what my weak points were, what were the problems I faced in my previous exam. I gave that exam at 9 a.m. in the morning and I had to wake up at 5. So I decided that's not what I'm doing. I'll give it in the afternoon so that I can wake up and easily go to give the exam. So such things, right? Like there will be failures. It's never like and even like when you see me talking about so many different things, that means I tried 1,000 and out of those 100 were able to get through. The number of times that I got rejected, the number of times nobody came back with a response, I'm not going to tell those, right? Nobody is telling those, but there are 10 times more than the ones where you succeed. So that exam was kind of like an eye-opener for me that, I can fail. I have to give it again. I have to rework. I have to rethink. I have to re-strategize. And then I gave my exam after 4 or 5 months again, which kind of actually, worked in my favor. And I had a right timeline for it also as well. So even if you fail, sometimes it is good for you. It gives you more time to think, more time to follow the path that you want to do, and maybe that was not the right path for you as well. So you will fail, and that is okay. Just learn from it, is how I will say, and don't. It's hard. Learn from it and work. Maybe not harder, but smarter the next time.
Absolutely. I think taking an example of giving an examination, failing at it, reattempting is the most apt, example she could pick up for all of you here. Even if you don't pass in one of your modules, it's okay, right? Learn from it, practice it, like she told, 30 minutes, half an hour, 1 hour every day, and I'm sure make a roadmap, right? Make a proper planning how to next time approach that exam. Plus, don't get overconfident. Don't be like, mujhe aata hai. No, that will not work. You will crash. So probably these are some of the best, takeaways you can take from her journey, from her failure, right? So that was a brilliant example. Thank you, Banreet. Yes. So, Banreet, in lieu of time, we'll keep you. I'm sorry, we'll take another 5 to 10 minutes of yours, right? We'll pick up questions from audience, and we'll try to answer 2-3 questions if they have something in their mind, right? Guys, chat box is open for you. Please go ahead and, please ask the answer. Okay, if you could leave us with one piece of advice, that was supposed to be my last question to Banreet. Yes, before we close, I'll take up this question, Omkar, and we'll ask Banreet. But before that, guys, do you have any other questions? You can ask fun questions to her, maybe her favorite movies, which I really want to ask Banreet. Your favorite movie of the time today?
The last movie I watched was Barbie, guys.
Oh, okay. Barbie, okay, nice. Which role is more difficult, techie or product manager?
It's a tough question. It depends on what you're good at. If you're really good at coding, it will be tough for you to be a PM. And if you are not very good at coding, but with understanding the product and user experience, then PM role is better, and techie will be harder for you. So yeah.
Tell me how about failure, how to handle it. I think she explained it. Learn from it, grow from it, and approach it next time, right? That's the technique she told. What would you prefer to word in India? To word in India?
I think they mean work.
Yeah, work in India or outside India?
I believe now this is a very personal opinion. Somebody might differ from it completely, all right. But I think if you can earn well in India, there's nothing like working in India. I believe in being a first-class citizen of the country where I am. So that is why I chose to keep on working and staying in India. And this is my opinion. It could be different for somebody else with some other motivation, but and especially if I can work from home. I would love working from my home in India all the time.
Yes, I think best life. Yes. So Yeah, I'm getting 2 3 DMs. I'm sure they're not very comfortable asking to everybody. So one question I've got, repeatedly is about the communication skills. Our students come from tier 3, tier 4 cities where there's not so much exposure, right, for English, or the surroundings, you can say, are not such, right? So could you just give them some tips, to improve their communication skills?
Right. I believe, like, I'll talk about for the product management experience. When I was preparing for my interviews, even I did not know how to approach an answer or how to structure my answer in a way that was easily understandable for the other person, especially because at the time I was giving interviews, it was completely online. So it was the responsibility of the interviewer to make sure that whoever is listening to you is able to understand each and everything. So we actually decided that everyone in our cohort will go to YouTube and look at the previous interviews of TMs from Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft, Googles of the world. Look at, just understand and see how they're approaching, what are they speaking, how are they approaching the answers. And that was the first thing I did. And you don't watch those videos at 2x or 2.5x so that you can complete the material. No, you have to read through, you have to listen at the normal pace, and you have to structure your own thoughts. Now, this is tough, okay? It is not something that can be done overnight. You have to give it time to structure your thoughts and then speak them out in a manner that the other person can understand. Don't go too fast. We use simple words. You don't have to use fancy words. Nobody cares about fancy words. The only solution here is that whatever you're trying to say, just see if the other person, if you were listening somebody say that, will you be able to understand it? Give context. When I say context, don't assume that the other person knows everything. Just assume the other person doesn't know anything. And then give even the basic simple details, because that will set context. That will be more I think this is something more on the interview side when I think about it, and not on the communication side. But again, it comes back to reading a lot of good editorials. It comes back to listening to good podcasts. It comes back to just speaking more in the language that you want to learn. Like right now, I'm trying to learn French and I can't speak at all. So I try to speak at my home with my parents or, with my friends. It's funny at first, okay? It will be tough, it will be funny, but the more you practice, the better you get at it.
Absolutely. Again, practice, listen, embrace, and move on, right? That's the funda. It's not a one day thing. Learning and speaking fluently in English will take time. So everyday little practice, everyday little hearing will take you a long way. Right. Cool. So, okay, one more question in DM. Can degree matter in interview? So, when you give interviews today, looking at today's world where skills matter more than degree, right? How much degree matter in the interview? Like when someone sits for an interview?
I will answer it in the manner that it depends on the person who is interviewing you. Let out that a lot of interviewing process, a lot of placement process is very luck based. Even though you would want everything to be skill based, we live in a world where a lot of things are luck based. Now, if the person sitting in front of you only wants to judge you on the skills that you have, it's great for you. They will not look at your resume, they will not look at your degree. But there are sadly individuals in this world who also associate value to degrees, and you cannot really differentiate between these people. You can just maybe hope that the person who's interviewing you does not put that much emphasis on a degree. But I am of this opinion as well, that if you can showcase your skills in a manner that is likable by the other person, the value that they assign to that degree can be reduced, and the value that they assign to your skill can be increased. So some of it is in your hands to change this value association as well. But this is the truth of the world that I will give after giving so many interviews and going through so many people. This is the truth, that you cannot say if that person will assign value to that degree or not.
Absolutely. Yes. Okay, while you were answering, I couldn't stop laughing. There was one question. Do you have a I think the meaning of that question is simply, have you ever met Satya Nadella? And do you work very closely to him?
So he did come to Hyderabad office. So I'm currently based out of Bangalore office, and he did this year beginning or last year did visited Hyderabad. Sadly, I was not there, but my manager. Who currently manages me has spoken to him, has been in those rooms where Bill Gates was also. So he has been with this company for a very long time. So I get to hear stories, but I have personally not met him. And but yeah, he's an amazing leader who has taken this company from its drowning days to now where it is at its peak.
Absolutely. I think a very respectable personality, and hope, Banreet, you will be in that room very soon. And then you come back and tell us your stories, right? Yes. Okay. So, guys, I think in lieu of time, we could just pick these many questions. I will leave Banreet's LinkedIn profile in the chat box for everybody. You can connect to her whenever she has time. She'll reply back. She'll connect with you. I hope, Banreet, you won't mind that. Yeah. Yes. So, yes, perfect. All right. So, guys, I'll pick up that question which was asked. A last piece of advice, Banreet, that you would give to our, aspiring techie students.
I believe it's about not giving up. You will see a lot of hurdles, but then that one opportunity that you're looking for, just look for it. So if you're looking for red cars, you will find red cars. If you're looking for opportunities, you will find opportunities. So keep that focus on what you're looking for, work hard for it, and you will get it. It may be later, but in some time, not like, let's say, next 1 month, next 6 months, next 1 year, you will get it. So keep on working hard for it.
Amazing. I think just keep going. Lage raho. Someday you will reach wherever you wanted to, and in whatever field you wanted to be, basically, right?
So just one more thing I would like to say. Don't ever hold yourself back thinking that, that I don't have this college education, or that I don't have this degree, I don't have this communication skill, or all that. It's just in your head. If you look at anything outside, you're not walking with your college, right? You don't have that written on somewhere, anywhere. So just think of yourself as an individual with the skills that you have, and focus on improving those. Don't focus on the name, is how I will put it. Don't become that person who associates value to a degree. Become a person who associates value to a skill. So yeah, that is like for you also, not just the interviewer.
Absolutely. I think a golden piece, golden advice, if even half of you could follow it, I'm sure you are facing success, not failures, very very soon, right? So yes, thanks, Banreet, so much. And first of all, thank you for giving us exactly 14 minutes extra of your time. It means a lot to us. You stayed back, you answered their questions. Thank you so much for gracing your presence, giving us such honest, your failures to your strengths, to interview tips, everything out there. Thank you so much. I hope students take some advice and then they follow, take some learnings from her journey and do not repeat those mistakes, right? So perfect. Thank you so much, Banreet. It was a pleasure, hosting you. I learned so many things, from you. So thanks a lot. See you soon. Yes. Thank you.
Bye everyone. Good luck.